Hi, this is Street Life Reviews and I'm Natasha, back at it with a review and discussion of The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy is an action comedy about Colt Seaver, who's a stuntman, meaning if you watch action movies, quite often, some actors they do their stunts, but more often they'll have a body double who does the action sequences. So imagine the person driving the car during the car chase scene, the person doing the fighting, the hand-to-hand combat, flipping over things, jumping over stuff, going through glass windows, things like that. Pretty much think of it as the scenes in action movies where the star of the film might get hurt. Colt Seaver is a stuntman. He plays the body double or stuntman for fictional character Tom Ryder, who's the star of a number of action movies. Colt is the boyfriend of Jody who works on films with aspirations to become a director. Tom comes up with the idea that they need to reshoot a scene to further obscure Colt's face. Unfortunately, reshooting the scene doesn't go very well, and instead it results in Colt falling and severely injuring his back. And as a result of this, he decides to step away from the industry, finds a regular 9-to-5 job. Jody tries to be there for him, but pride, ego, all those kinds of things prevent him from accepting her help. As part of dropping off the face of the earth and leaving the industry, he also basically cuts off communication with Jody. About a year later, Gail, who is a film producer that he's worked with on a number of films, reaches out to Colt, expressing to him that Jody is now getting the opportunity to direct her first film, wants him to come back to be the lead stuntman, and seeing an opportunity to not necessarily redeem himself as a stuntman, but really to come through for Jody and hopefully clear the air, he jumps at the opportunity, flying to Australia where they're shooting the film. And so from there, it becomes like a film within a film. So you have the movie that you're watching, which is Fall Guy, but then within that, you have them making a movie. And it's like a sci-fi action romance movie that just sounds absolutely ridiculous. But basically, what we get to see as the audience is the behind the scenes of what it's like to actually shoot an action film. And as someone who has an interest in film, not just reviewing them, but as an audience member, I enjoy watching films, but also have an interest in how films are made. I found the movie to be quite fascinating, where on one level you have an action movie, there's a great deal of action, there's sharp, snappy, witty dialogue, which adds a good bit of comedy to the film. But what I really enjoyed was that so often when you watch movies, it's about the leading actor or actress. Even when you have these movie within movie type films, it's about the leading man or the leading woman falling in love with some regular Joe or regular Jane. But it's actually kind of cool to get away from that, right? To see the film from the perspective of the stuntmen and women who add so much to the movies. So it's you get a behind the scenes look of what it's like to make a movie, how some of these action scenes come together, the big explosions, there's a boat chase, they're driving crazy looking vehicles on the beach, they're rolling over cars, the leading man catches on fire and he has to portray that. And so it's from the perspective of someone that has an interest in films, I actually really enjoyed the behind the scenes. Very early in the film, you get an opportunity to not an in-depth kind of thing, but more a quick glimpse into some of the different roles that people play on a film set. And it gives you an idea of how those different pieces come together, how action movies come together. And I found that to be quite fascinating. Add to that, where Colt eventually gets down to it, the producer has actually invited him to come to Australia to where the film is shooting because Tom, the star of the movie, has gone missing, right? Plot twist. Kind of causing you to suspend disbelief a bit because the character Colt isn't some secret agent or retired military man. He's some Joe Schmo who does stunts. But the explanation of it is that having worked in several films as Tom's stuntman, his body double, he would know him best. He would know how to blend in. He would know how to figure out how to get into Tom's mind and, figure out where he might be. Fine. With that, Colt embarks on a quest of sorts to locate Tom and bring him back to the movie set because with him being missing, as they get closer to shooting scenes with the main actor, it's going to become problematic and it runs the risk of the film getting shut down because at this point it's veering into being over budget, and with that, it can spell disaster for Jody's career before it ever really gets started. It gives Colt really good motivation to find Tom. And he has some experiences and meets some characters that just ratchets up the comedy. And it's If you think of like the typical action film where the star is on a quest to find someone to figure out some kind of conspiracy or plot or whatever, you have that going on here, but it's a little bit different. It feels fresh and different because it's within the context of making this film. So you get to see like different moments of how like the cast work together. You see Colt on set and whatnot, but then at the same time you see like he's trying to figure out where Tom is. The movie is an action comedy, and it strikes me as having just the right balance between the two, because it's not necessarily a silly movie. There's like some witty dialogue and like some WTF moments and whatnot that'll make you chuckle or laugh out loud, but I like that it wasn't silly. I would say that it's actually definitely funny, witty. You know, they're like these like really sharp one-liners that tie back to other movies. And so I think this would be like a really perfect film for someone that enjoys films. There are explosions, some exciting fight sequences. There's one scene in particular where Colt is like trying to get evidence from some bad guys, and he's like trying to recover Tom's phone. And it's a high-speed chase through this urban city where like he ends up fighting with this guy in a dumpster. There's a dog. There's a lot going on. The location, first of all, props. But it's like, in addition to them being in this dumpster, there's all this stuff going on, so it's not like your typical high-speed chase. It mixes things up a bit, which makes things quite interesting. There's like a fight sequence on the beach. There's a fight in like a cool luxury apartment, and all of it is just really, really cool. In a sense, the movie pays homage to stunt actors and actresses, placing them front and center, where usually stunt people are like in the background, or we don't see their faces. And it's like they give us so much enjoyment through movies and whatnot, but you very rarely actually see their faces, typically don't know their names unless you're in the industry. But here the movie kind of flips this on its head, where as part of the story, the stuntman becomes the star of the show. And it gives you a real appreciation for their skills, seeing the behind the scenes aspects of it. Like, I hadn't really thought about the effort and energy, the risk really, the skill and talent that it takes for stuntmen and stuntwomen to do their jobs. So often we focus on like the leading man or the leading woman, the primary actors in the story, that we don't think about the stunt people who help make those action scenes possible. And so I actually thought it was like a really nice thing to have this different perspective, where really it's like paying homage to stunt people. It gives you an appreciation for the work that they do. And like always, I never really want to give the full movie away, at least not for like these new releases. But those were like some of the things that stood out to me. Generally speaking, dating back to The Devil Wears Prada, I've pretty much liked what I've seen Emily Blunt in. With Ryan Gosling, I've liked the comedy films that he's been in. Some of the other actors and actresses I wasn't really familiar with. Well, really everyone aside from Winston Duke. I knew him from Black Panther. But all in all, I felt like everyone did really well. I thought Hannah Waddington, who plays Gail Meyer, the producer, was actually very funny. And like looking at it, I couldn't think of any weak links where anyone was slacking or lacking or anything like that. And I felt like from start to finish, the movie was enjoyable. So I would highly recommend it. I think it's a film that you'd like if you enjoy action movies, if you like comedy, either of those genres, but also if you're interested in the art and business of making movies. It has a lot to offer and is very enjoyable. The Fall Guy was originally supposed to come out in March, but I think they made a really great decision with pushing it back to May. Typically, Memorial Day weekend is the start of like the summer blockbuster season, but you know, I guess this year it's like May as a whole. It's a little bit early, but I would say that The Fall Guy is the perfect start to the summer movie season, as it hits just the right note with the perfect blend of action and comedy. And so with that, I highly recommend checking out The Fall Guy. I think it's a really good start to the summer movie season, great for people who like action, great for people who like comedy, great for people who just like movies. So check it out. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my movie review playlist. Go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.